Hi, this is PJ Scott with Veterans Forum. Thank you for tuning in, and once again I want to thank the Port Orchard American Legion for allowing us to tape here today. Agent Orange is a topic that comes out of Vietnam, as most of you know, but it's an ongoing issue. There are many veterans that have since passed away and are suffering with the maladies that Agent Orange exposure has caused on their health. Now, today, my guest, I have several, but we have to break it down, and I've decided that my Army guest can be first, and we have with us right now Lionel Coleman. Lionel, tell us when you went into the Army and how you got exposed to Agent Orange.
Yes, my name is Lionel Coleman, and I was drafted into the Army in 1965, and I went through basic in Fort Polk, Louisiana, ended up in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and from there I was trained on the 105 toll houses. From there I was shipped over to Vietnam and joined up with the Big Red One, and I was in a battery, the 2nd or 33rd, which was one of the support batteries for the infantry. One of the things is that every time the infantry went out, we had to go out to make sure that we covered them and shoot H&Is. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that the majority of the veterans out there know what H&Is are.
Well, tell us.
That's harassment and interrogation.
Okay.
It's just a bunch of flares that illuminates. And if you happen to see anything, then if they got called in strikes, then we'll start shooting our shells in. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we did a lot of that, mostly at night. We did a lot of traveling. Mechanized truck during the day, and one of the things was we was always in the jungle. So as far as for getting exposed to the Agent Orange, every time we was out in that area, we seen planes flying over, dropping stuff.
Agent Orange is a defoliant to get the leaves off the trees of the jungle Lionel is going through, so we can see, you can see where the enemy, the Viet Cong, are.
Right. No one ever told us anything about the hazards of the Agent Orange. We really didn't have that much protection. Mm-hmm. So we was exposed out there like, the trees were.
Right. Well, a lot of chemicals, Agent Orange for Vietnam isn't the first time chemicals were used during warfare. In fact, I brought a picture in today of a World War I ancestor. You can bet that mustard gas was a big issue after World War I, and my children's great-grandfather got mustard gas, and he didn't die immediately. He died, I think, in 1936. But it was very corrosive, and it kept degenerating his lungs, which I am certain is the same kinds of stories we're hearing about Agent Orange. What was your experience? How many, you sound like you were right under it.
Well, majority of the time, the thing was you see the plane come over, and you hear it, and then they drop in the spray on you, but because of the air currents and the wind, you really don't know what you're getting into.
Which way the wind's going to blow.
So you're just out there underneath the flourish of it. And the biggest problem a lot of guys had was, not being able to shower and shave, clean yourself up daily. Uh-huh. We wasn't able to get it off of us. So if we was breathing it in, we're just taking it in.
How many times do you imagine you got sprayed?
Oh, I really don't know, because our base camp was in Chulai and La Key area, which is about 30 miles out of Saigon, and our biggest operations would mostly be once a month. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we would go out for 1 week, maybe sometimes we would go out for 20 or 30 days.
Well, so, I did some research, and I got all my information, most of it, out of something the Veteran Administration publishes. It's called the Agent Orange Review, and they're still publishing these. Agent Orange was being sprayed basically by the 8th Air Force, I believe it was called Operation Ranch Hand, from, 1962 to 71. Yeah. So for 9 long years, our men are being exposed. Now, when you got out of the Army, did you have to really convince the Veterans Administration that, hey, you'd been there? I mean, what was your experience with that?
Well, I didn't really have some of the problems a lot of veterans are having right now because, as you see, I was wounded over there in the Battle of Baovang, which was the 4th of August, 1966. And I was convalescent out of there to Japan. So when I got out of the service, I was already in the system as a disabled veteran.
Oh, because of your war wounds,
Right.
which were obvious,
Yes,
unlike
yes.
Agent Orange. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And what has happened is that I was introduced to a program over at American Lake on a full-year Agent Orange study. Because at the time I was having rash, the skin rash that was caused and no one knew why. And I was having other problems that no one knew why. I've had lesions that come up, I've had problems that was happening because of my prior wounds. But I didn't really have any effect until 1993 when I was in the process of retiring from the Naval Shipyard.
Okay.
And I was being processed out and doing your yearly physical, and they found out that I had high blood sugar.
Okay.
Which is
Diabetes.
part of diabetes.
Right, I'm familiar with that one.
And so going back and forth to the VA, and with some of the problems that they had noted in my medical jacket, they sent me a letter in 1996 informing me that for me to come in and check with them because there was some policies that was going on, new changes that they was making, and for me to come in and get reevaluated.
And we have Albert Buster, who's been, you've been a mainstay at Chapter 5 for years. And then we've got to his, next to him, Frank Ostrom. And both these gentlemen have Agent Orange disabilities and issues. And so, Albert, tell us how you became exposed to Agent Orange while you did a tour in Vietnam with the Navy.
In 1966, I was a riverboat commander, and I was in what they call a rag boat. I was in Rio Grande 9, and I ran what they call medevac. I had an armored troop carrier that was equipped with a helicopter deck, and I had myself and 6 other people aboard. So I medevaced wounded soldiers off the beach, and it was actually a hospital boat.
Oh, okay.
And it had reefers on it to give blood transfusions and all this stuff. And then helicopter deck to take the very bad wounded,
Okay.
medevac them in.
How big is this boat? Because when I hear of Navy and boats, I'm thinking about them slithering up the Mekong Delta.
Well,
This sounds much bigger than
This is
that.
where we were, up the Mekong Delta. And the boat was 18 foot wide and 56 foot long.
Okay.
It was equipped with 2 721 Great Marine engines. And aboard the boat was 2 gunners,
Was there
2 enginemen, a radioman, and
I hope you had some hospital corpsmen.
no, we
Really?
trained radioman as a hospital corpsman,
Okay,
and we went about doing our job.
right. So how did you come in contact with Agent Orange on these
Well,
missions?
you see, the boat was equipped with ramps. And so we had to beach them. And you had to go into the beach and pick up the wounded.
Right.
And along the beach, the Air Force had sprayed the foliage so we could see. And sometimes we'd go in there and they'd come over and be spraying, and you look at your arm would be wet, your uniform is saturated from it.
Right.
And we paid no attention to it. You know, we didn't know it was even Agent Orange or
Right.
whatever it was. We didn't know. All
Right.
thing we knew it was killing the foliage so we could see.
Right.
And just went about our jobs. And this is what happened. Nobody really knew. Then I started coming down with rash and cysts. I had a problem with cysts. And I'd get a cyst and I'd go and get it removed and stuff like that. And I never paid any attention to them until
Who was removing it? The Navy
the
military?
Navy military
Oh,
doctors was
okay.
removing
All
them.
right.
And I never paid any attention to them until I got out of the Navy.
So how difficult was it for you to deal with the Veterans Administration?
I didn't really have any problems. Once I got in the DAV, I had the disabled veteran service officers were very thorough and very good, and they took the ball and went rolling with it, and I didn't have no problems.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
That's great.
I think if you try one of the service branches, you won't have any problem. You got to get somebody to
Who knows what they're doing?
knows
That's
what they're
those
doing to
service
fight your
officers-
case.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Frank, tell us what, you were in the Navy, correct?
Yes.
And how did you become exposed, Frank, to Agent Orange?
Well, my story is a little different than theirs in that I was, quote, in a fairly safe area. I was in Da Nang. And we supplied the rest of the military with all their needs. Anything they needed, we got it for them.
Right.
And we could hear the planes at nighttime because there was always flares up.
Right.
You could hear them, you could see them, and we knew, and I guess we knew what they were doing, spraying, but we weren't directly under them. However, with the winds and everything, I'm sure we'd come up wet. We didn't know whether it was sweat or it could have been spray from the planes. I don't know what it
Well,
was.
it's a jungle area, so I would imagine it was a little humid regardless.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
But it was all around us. The jungle was all around us, so we weren't in direct contact in that they were dropping it right on top of us.
Right. But who can explain the wind currents?
Yes, that's the whole thing.
Right.
And I didn't know anything. I'd heard about Agent Orange, but I didn't really know what effect it had. I retired in 1972.
Okay.
I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in April of '98. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in June of 2001. In October of 2001, I accidentally picked up one of these DAV that referred to Agent Orange, and I started reading it. I got to this one spot where they listed 10 things that were eligible under Agent Orange.
Right.
2 of them were, as Al said, were type 2 diabetes and prostate cancer, both of which I had. So I sent a letter in, and they gave me 100% disability for the prostate cancer.
Okay. The factory workers who were packaging and mixing this brew called Agent Orange, the chemical dioxin evidently is what's the killer in the Agent Orange. Just about all the factory workers involved in mixing the dioxin, packaging the dioxin, had just a myriad of health problems as well. So it had to be quickly deduced that if Vietnam veterans weren't delusional, that this was in fact a big problem.
There is also a period of time, and I don't know what it is in that review, where if you were in Korea during a certain time, you could have been exposed as well.
Really?
Yes.
So I want to thank Frank and Al Buster here and Lionel, our Army man who had to leave us. And remember to pray for our active duty military personnel, because as we all know, things could get hot. And I ask you also to pray for our political leaders, because we're living in a dangerous world. God bless. See you next month.